Hi there, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again. It's a Wednesday, lovely evening with Stephen Dossou, all the way from Ignote Transformation TV. As you know, Ignote Transformation is all about finding those right people, those game changers, those impact makers all around the world to bring to you their life stories, their journeys, how they were able to crack the code of life out there. Look, it's no secret that COVID-19, has again showed to us how terrible life can be, how challenging life can be, right? And it's all about how we make the best out of it. So today, I've again gone all around the world and found this amazing individual all the way from UK. His name is Justin Douglas. Look, Justin Douglas, I don't know how he did it, but he went from being a 15 years chartered accountant, right? Like, those people that are very much well respected in society, right? They're very intelligent, those people. He went from being there to becoming a strength coach. And look, his training, I've watched some of his videos. His trainings are very live and people were excited. People were being transformed just like this. It was like magic. So I was like, hey, Justin, listen, would you mind sharing with us what it is that you do, where you're from, what your story is, and all the rest? And he was like, yeah, I can do that. So here we are today, hanging out with Mr. Justin Douglas, all the way from UK. Hi there, Justin. How's it going?
Hi, Stephen. It's great to be here. I'm just so excited. I mean, your introduction there is just so fun. And that's the spirit I love. So it's fantastic to be here. I mean, just great. I'm really looking forward to talking to you about my story and about what we can do. And, as you say, adapting to the change that we've all faced, this massive challenge of the global pandemic. It's tough out there for so many people. And so, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm really, really pleased to be with you, Stephen. Great stuff.
Awesome. So how's the UK now? I know that in some parts of the world, Corona is rising back again. There's a second wave apparently, and some countries are starting to shut down again. How's the UK currently? Which part of the UK are you, by the way?
Yeah, so I live just a little bit north of London with my wife, who's actually also in education. She's a teacher. And we've had a tough year for sure. When the pandemic hit the UK, we were one of the worst hit countries in Europe. Indeed. And it was brought under control to the summertime. And now, as we enter the autumn, there's a lot of anxiety as the number of cases are beginning to rise again. And of course, it's very difficult with all the schools going back. There's a lot of interaction between all the students. So it's difficult to say at the moment, Stephen, but we are a little bit worried. There seems to be a bit more of a surge happening, which is, causing anxiety and making people think, what's next? What's going to happen next? So I think we're in that phase of great uncertainty right now, having had a pretty good summer when it was, things became a little bit more normal and people were able to enjoy themselves in the sunshine. So yeah, we'll see. But it's not easy, as we know, for so many countries around the world.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I read the quote of the UN secretary. He said something actually very beautiful. He said that the human race had a crisis, right? The Spanish flu being one of them. So I just keep that optimism with me, a time that will pass under the sun and we'll rise back again stronger than ever.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely true. I mean, I'm not an expert.
Well, Justin, so, yeah, continue.
Yeah, I was just saying I'm not an expert, but my understanding is that most pandemics tend to last about 2 years before viruses change in a way that they are less deadly. So it's very difficult. As I say, I'm not an expert, but you're absolutely right. We will come out of this situation in due course, for sure. That's the way the science works. That's my understanding and what I've tried to learn.
And that's awesome, man. Okay, so Justin, I mean, I know I did give a brief introduction about you, to the viewers and listeners, but I'm pretty much sure they are dying to hear right now, who is this chartered accountant that became a strength coach and is doing very well at it, right? So please take us through, what your journey has been, and what are your values, what have been the ups and downs, the waves, the raining times. Tell us everything.
Sure. Okay, so you're absolutely right. I did first start out as a chartered accountant, and I think I have to take you back to what my mother said.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think I speak for many people here. I did not really know what I wanted to be when I grew up. But my mother, she noticed that I was good with numbers and finance and things. And she said, oh, he's a born accountant. So I always had this in my mind that, oh, I'm a born accountant. And off I went to university, and I still did not know exactly what I wanted to do. But I studied geology and psychology, a very strange combination because rocks do not think, but it was fun and I learned a lot. And at the end of that, yes, I thought, chartered accountancy. So I went into accountancy and studied in London and qualified. And I loved it because you were going to visit so many different businesses, and I focused on entrepreneurial businesses, so the smaller companies. So I was constantly moving around. But one of the things in that, we were always auditing the financial accounts. So we were looking backwards. And I started feeling I want to kind of look forwards. And so with this in mind, I then moved on to PwC, where I became a management consultant. So I certified as a management consultant and went through that career for a long time, still with my accountancy as a strong background. And I would say to any young person, if you're not sure what you want to do, but you want a good business qualification, then accountancy is a really good choice. Anyway, when I was doing consulting, I got really interested in customer service. It was the days when call centers were starting to grow. And the first banking online, well, not online, on the telephone, banking on the telephone was starting up. And I loved it. I loved the way it was all about, well, how do you make the customer happy? And I think this was the source of where I started to become fascinated in what makes people happy, what makes people fulfilled, what makes people do the best things that they possibly can. And so I followed this path. And in 2012, by this time, I was now with the big giant company IBM in their consulting division. And in 2012, I got an opportunity to go into their training department full time. What a great opportunity. And I never really looked back. And I still remember to this day, one training course that we were pioneering. And in it, it had a section on strengths, helping people look at their strengths. And I had already done my strengths profile from Gallup's Strengths Finder, which some of you listening to this may be familiar with. And I looked and I thought, oh my goodness, I realized suddenly why, A, I loved what I was doing, and B, why, based on feedback, I was really good at it. And it was because it was all aligned to my strengths. And so that was just like a breakthrough moment. It was just fantastic. And so another thing which had been sitting as a little seed was I'd always wanted my own business, just like you, Stephen, running yours. And I thought, hang on, this could be a good merge here. So I actually took the plunge and decided I'd run my own business, delivering training and coaching. And the first thing I did is I went off to Gallup and became a certified strengths coach. So there you go, a sort of 15, 16, 17-year history or something in what, 2 minutes? So there you go.
Wow. Amazing. So, I mean, my question is still burning, right? So you were a chartered accountant, right? Yeah. then you had a breakthrough whereby you found out that, I mean, what actually made you enjoy the things that you were doing were because of, the fact that they were directly related to your strengths, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
and then from there, you went to start your own business. That sounds pretty bold and very passionate to me. So, that leads me to the next question. What is then strength coaching? I mean, I hear it all the time. I hear people say about strength coaching, but truly speaking, I don't really know what it is, So I'm assuming for you to leave, a management consulting job, a chartered accounting job, and to actually become a strength coach and love it really well, I'm definitely sure that it must be something very awesome and fascinating. So tell us about it. What is strength coaching?
It is definitely awesome. I mean, Stephen, it's just incredible because I mean, it's hard to express because it's so good. I mean, if only the world would sort of, look at people's strengths instead of their weaknesses. I mean, let's just look at the big corporate organizations and in some cases schools as well. You get a report or your annual appraisal at your company and it's well done, well done, well done. Ooh, but you need to improve here. And the whole strengths philosophy sort of says, well, hang on a moment. Maybe we don't need to improve in that area. Maybe that's just not our strength. Maybe someone else should do that kind of stuff that we're not so good at. And so strengths coaching is really about helping people focus on what they're really naturally talented at, what they're naturally strong at, instead of worrying about the weaknesses in their profile. And I mention the word profile because as part of the Strengths Finder process or philosophy, as it were, we recommend people take the Strengths Finder assessment, which is something that is provided by Gallup at quite a low cost, which is good, $20 US, which is not too bad. And then strengths coaches like myself can use that information to actually help someone say, hey, look at these wonderful things that you're so strong at, and let's work on developing them. And those things down the bottom of the list, well, maybe they don't matter so much. And the thing is, Stephen, sometimes we think, well, hang on, people will say, Justin, yes, they do matter to me, those things at the bottom. So we then need to look at them and say, well, what can we do about them? And we've got pretty much three choices. And they can be used in combination. So, for example, one option is to partner with someone that is strong. So maybe I'll give you an example from myself. If you were to look at my full strengths profile, you will see that the strategic themes of talent are quite low in my report. And consequently, am I strategic? No, I'm not. But I mean, I'll tell you a funny story here. When I went into consulting, it was, I mean, I had this vision. I was like, accountant, but I want to be really strategic. So management consulting seems the thing to do. But little did I know that basically I'm not a very strategic person. But so that's a little side story, but I wish I'd known that when I was younger. So what are my choices? Well, probably number one, find somebody to work with that is more strategic. And actually, you mentioned about taking the plunge, the challenge of making your own business. That was probably one of the hardest things, because when I was employed, I'd be part of a team. So maybe I'm not so strategic, but my colleagues are. Exactly. But in my own business, who's my strategic partner? Let me have a, no, I don't know. So it becomes a different way of working, forming relationships with people and, trying to kind of, share ideas really. So that's one option, partner with people that are strong where you are so strong. Secondly, build some skills around them. I mean, there are things you can do. You can maybe learn something from a book or go on a course, so you can get some knowledge. And I love this expression. It's not about being great. It's about being good enough in those things that you maybe are not quite so strong on. And the third thing you can do is think, well, maybe I should just be doing something a bit different. And that's when we look back at the top of the list and we say, okay, these strengths that we've got, let's make them work. And that's an important part of it too, Stephen. As you well know, nothing happens unless we put effort in. And it's true with our natural talents. We need to exercise them. You know, it really is sort of weightlifting, but for strengths. So exercising our natural talents, making the work, and consciously, you know, if I close my eyes, I think to myself, which of my strengths did I use yesterday? How did I make them work harder? And it's through gradual practice that we make these things work harder.
Yeah.
And you probably want to know a little bit why this could be so beneficial.
Of course, yeah. You actually guessed my next question.
Okay. Well, this is where I get really excited, because what struck me is that Gallup's research, which was based on 4...
What is Gallup? Sorry to interject that, Justin. Please, you know, what is Gallup? I mean, people may hear it, but they don't really know what it is. Yeah.
So Gallup is a big organization in the USA. That's where they're owned. And they used to be quite famous in the UK for running polls, opinions, getting information on what people think maybe about a political election or something like that. But they then have branched very heavily into strengths and into engagement at work. So basically they're just a big company, but they're passionate about helping people focus on their strengths, helping companies have more engaged employees. So Gallup, their research is actually founded in 40 years of research by a chap called Donald Clifton. He sadly died now, but his son continues to run the company, Jim Clifton. And so that's who I actually trained with. So that, yeah, you're right, rewind a little, and that's who we're looking at. There are 2 absolutely standout facts from Gallup's research, which were, for me, were like, oh my goodness, this is good news. So first one, ready? The first one is that people that focus on their strengths over and above their weaknesses are 6 times as likely to report feeling engaged in their jobs. Now that's good news, isn't it? Can you imagine that? 6 times as likely to report feeling engaged in their jobs compared to if they focused on their weaknesses. The second wonderful fact, and I kind of prefer this one even more. People that focus on their strengths over and above their weaknesses are 3 times as likely to report an excellent quality of life. Now, you might say to me, oh, Justin, but you said 6 times as likely to report feeling engaged, but only 3 times as likely to report having an excellent quality of life. Yeah. Well, hang on. Focus on that word, excellent. Yeah. That is powerful. I'll buy that. 3 times as likely to report an excellent quality of life. It's, you know, it's a joy to think of those facts, and it's based on such solid research. And I love evidence, being a bit of a scientific background. I love some evidence. So for me, this was very, very compelling. And if you ask me, has it made a difference to me in those 2 areas? Absolutely, yes. I can't measure it, but it absolutely has made a difference in terms of those 2 things, feeling engaged and also, excellent quality of life. It's, how can I measure it? But it's improved. I know it has. So there we go. Now, Stephen is back. Hey, Stephen.
Yeah, you're still alive. I'm back. I don't know what just happened there. Anyway, I'm back. Yes. You were talking about the quality of life.
I just kept talking, Stephen, and just said.
Okay, it's good. Yeah.
It was quite funny. It suddenly said on the screen, "You are the host." I thought, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to ask myself some questions." Anyway, good to have you back. But I was just saying to the audience listening to this, I was just saying that, you know, for my own personal life, I've definitely noticed a difference in how I feel about everything I do, and also in the quality of my life. No question about it. They've both gone up. So that's good news.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, I was
give you a good summary.
You did answer my question, I think, in a very, I think, detailed manner, right? I guess, everybody can take whatever the need, out of your stretched answer.
I hope so.
mean,
I get quite
to
carried away.
improve your quality of life, 3 acts. It's okay. It's okay. That's the whole point. It means actually your own transformation is being ignited, and that's how you're going to ignite others' transformation as well. So it's great. It's great to be carried away.
I have to say as well, your style helps ignite me. No question about it. I love it.
All right, man. So I mean, I was about to say that 3x, improving. 3x improvement of your life. I think anybody will want that, right? And if that's what strength coaching does, then I mean, welcome, right? Sign me up right now. Well, Justin, my question is that, I mean, everybody watching right now can see that you are very enthusiastic, individual. You are excited. Your energy is blasting off. But here's the key question, right? Everybody goes through that rough patch in their lives, right? Yeah. So when you Justin go through that phase, what then gives you that boost, that inspiration to keep going, right? Where does your inspiration come from?
Yeah. It's a really great point. I mean, let's just mention the pandemic again. There's, my business was hit massively because a lot of my work is face-to-face training with big groups of people. And suddenly it's like, we can't do that anymore. So, exactly. You're right. There's no question I went through some lows, for sure. We do all the time. And what brings you back? What's the inspiration? Well, I think there are a couple of things I would mention. And this is one I think is really important. Do not bottle it up inside you. Talk to people. Talk to people that you love or people that you trust. Yes, it could be, a professional coach or someone like me or you, but it could just be a friend. And I think that's absolutely critical. Talk to people that are good at listening. That's really key. So I think that's one thing you can do. And certainly it's what I do. And the second thing, which I think is really, really helpful and powerful, is talking to to yourself, but maybe with someone, but to think about those things that have been successful. So to look back and say, well, hang on, what is it that has been fantastic for me? To reflect on those powerful moments and remember that you can do it. You can do it again. You can lift yourself. And sometimes I was thinking about this, because in our pre-discussion, we were talking about, inspiration and so on. And you know what, Stephen? For some people, it could be a big speech, something they've read or something they've heard from some famous person. You know what it is for me?
No.
It's sometimes the tiniest things. Okay. It's the tiniest things sometimes. So maybe I'll give you an example. All right. I was working with a group of people, and it was a course all about communicating and improving your presentation skills. Okay. And there was one particular woman, and she was really worried about her English, her standard of English, because it was an international class and she was German speaking. Okay. And so we did the class, and I can still remember, this is probably about 6-7 years ago, and I can visualize the whole thing. She was up in front of all of us. It was a class of about 12 people, so quite focused. And she did her presentation, and she did it in English, and it was great. We understood her perfectly. But it wasn't just me, the teacher. I said to the audience, I said to them, okay, we're going to call her Sarah. Tell Sarah, how was it? And they were all unanimously saying, you're totally fine with your English. Okay. And the effect on her, I'm getting the goosebumps now. It's amazing. She just felt so wonderful that people were giving her the feedback to say, you know what? You're okay. You're doing it well. And I remember that moment because it gave me goosebumps then, you know, almost the tears to the eye. I can get emotional with these things because to see someone go through a transformation of confidence, of ability that says, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Stephen.
Yeah.
That's what inspires me. That's what drives me along. So sometimes I look for the small things, the small memories that are just wonderful. There are many stories I could tell, but you know, it gives you an idea of what I try and latch on. And I recommend that to anyone. Look for those special moments in life. You know, it can be even just a lovely walk in beautiful countryside. I don't know, you know, think on those wonderful, beautiful moments in humanity or in nature, or whatever is special for you, in sport maybe. That can be very powerful, and hold them and do that also in conjunction with speaking with people who are good listeners. Those are my top tips.
Okay, awesome. So there you have it from Justin Douglas. And the question was, what inspires this gentleman? And his answer was actually also very inspirational. He said, remember those moments, those great moments that you've had, right? And do not compare yourself to the temporary situation or temporary tough time that you're going through. Remember the great times that you had and talk to yourself, right? Spend time with yourself, reconnect with yourself as much as possible. And you know what? Try to find inspiration from other people who are also being transformed, right? So if you have just joined, we are hanging out today with the gentleman all the way from UK, a little up north in London, he says, right? So this gentleman is a strength coach. He spent over 15 years as a chartered accountant, and diving from that, he made a plunge, right, into seizing the life in his own hands, and right, like how people would say, living his life in his own terms. And now he's become a strength coach. He has actually worked with some of the biggest companies you can actually think of, like IBM. He has done major projects around the world, very influential and very powerful. So we how coach. So I mean, you did explain what strength coach is about. You know, focusing on the strength and you know, finding the right partnership on the things you are weak as a coach, right? And I can't out.
Right, Stephen, you were breaking up there. Was there a question at the end?
Yes. Sorry. Do I sound like I'm in water?
A little bit, but it's great water.
Okay. Anyway, my question to you was, how do you strength coach, right? If I'm a client, I'm an individual, and you know, I'm drawn to what you are saying this evening, in your case during the day, and I actually want to approach you and get to know a little bit more. How do you coach as a strength coach? What is the process? How is the work involved? What are the techniques, the tools that you use? Can you please brief us a little bit about that?
I sure can. So you're right. It's lunchtime here in the UK. So yeah, I mean, and that actually has been one of the interesting things of the lockdown situations is, of course, we can work remotely like this. It works really well for coaching one-to-one because we can see each other on the screen. So yes, that's a really good thing. But that's one point. I also like meeting people face to face as well, especially with good coffee, Stephen. It's one of my big loves in life is good coffee, high quality. I love it.
We have something in common.
Sorry?
We have something in common.
Yeah. Oh, good. Maybe I should send you some. Fantastic. All right. So let's just wind back. So how would it happen? So I have a fundamental belief in a few things. One, nobody should ever feel pressurized to do coaching.
Okay.
It has to be a fit for both people. That's so important as well. So one of the things I always do is I always start with a conversation. There's never a charge for it. We have a conversation. I always say it's about 20 minutes, but it's usually about 30 because I love talking and I love listening. So it's a conversation between two people, and we establish what the goals are. We establish what people maybe are worried about, what they're trying to, maybe if there's a problem they're trying to solve. I'll give you an example. I was coaching someone recently on getting a job with a international client, and it was fantastic. We worked really hard on it, and she got it, which was fantastic. So it can be, we've got to look at what we're there to do, set some goals, and also make sure that we're both happy with each other as people. Okay, I once had some coaching myself that I was given, and it didn't work, Stephen, because the relationship, we just didn't kind of click together. So I feel that's a very, very important part. So I always do that at the beginning, always. Second thing, as I say, I never charge either for that, because I don't think it's fair. The second fundamental factor I have in my coaching, quite a lot of people say, oh, you have to buy a minimum of 3, 4, 5 sessions. I don't believe in that either. Okay. I believe, if it's one session, it's one session. If it's 2 sessions, it's 2. If it's 3, it's 3. It's what is needed to get the person to where they need to be or where they want to be. Mm-hmm. And I feel that's very important value set that I like to hold, because for me, it's sort of, yes, of course, there's a commercial angle to it. I've got to make a living from it. But actually, I want it to be right for the person. So we do whatever's required for that. And I always tend to be because I'm sort of maybe less strategic, as we talked about earlier, and not always as commercial as I should be. I like to give a lot. So we can often have kind of extended sessions and so on. And I also have another thing which I always include, which I called quick bounce. Sort of boing, quick bounce. What does it mean? Quick bounce means that if I was coaching you, Stephen, you would have access to me at any time, well, except when I'm maybe sleeping, to just maybe check on something. You just had an idea or a thought, or you're worried about something. You just think, hey, Justin, what do you think about this? And that could be just like a 15-minute conversation or a quick email. And again, I always include that with no extra charge, because I passionately want the person to do well. I want them to be the best of who they really are. So it's kind of this absolute desire for people to thrive. Now, so that kind of gives you a bit of a framework. If we focus in on strengths, what I will often do is we'll start with a strengths profile. So I will issue someone with a strengths code. They will do the strengths assessment. That will then reveal their report, and we use that as a foundation for the coaching. We'll look at what's at the top of the list, what's strong, and we'll work with that. And then if there are things near the bottom of the list, some of the themes down there, we might think, oh, right, are they causing you trouble? Let's look about how we can mitigate them. What can we do? Partner with someone, or as we talked about before, or the other one is, well, what's at the top of the list that can help you overcome those problems at the bottom? So that's the sort of mechanism. So we'll use that strengths profile as a foundation for the coaching work. Not always, it doesn't always have to be about, strengths. And a recent area that I've started up, kind of studied in some depth, is well-being, which has been a big topic, certainly in the UK during the lockdowns, is people's well-being. So that's another area which may not use a strengths profile to address that. Mm-hmm. So, how's that, Stephen? Does that answer the question?
It does.
Good,
it does.
good. Good.
Okay, so
I guess I'd summarize by kind of saying it's very much centered on the person and their needs, and not centered on me. We call this in training, which is obviously my other big area with groups, we call it learner-centered training. In other words, it's not about me, it's about you. And it's the same in coaching. It's all about you.
Yeah. I guess a summary of the process is that if you do get in touch, for instance, with Justin, Justin will take you for coffee, right? Get to know
Yes,
you.
if I can.
After he gets to know you, he'll do an assessment, get to know what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. And from there, you're going to put an action plan in place. And with that action plan, it's going to be like the roadmap to where you want to get to. And with that, you put some actions and, feedback will come. And Justin is always available if you need more information from him, right? Great.
Stephen, can I just say that was brilliant? I love your summary.
Great, man. Awesome. So, Justin, one question that I'm dying to ask you, right, is that, no offense to anyone, but, I'm a firm believer in the youth, right? So I believe that a great investment in the youth, is definitely a good investment for the future, You are able to do the great things that you are doing right now, to have the impact and influence in the world that you are in right now, because I believe that you have a certain level of foundation when you were younger, right? Yes. But here's the question. So the question is one question, but two in one, all right? So the first one in one is, what advice would you give to your younger self? And then the second advice is, what advice would you give to all the other youth all around the world, in the four corners of the world?
Yes. Okay, Stephen, what a lovely question. I mean, we haven't said it yet, but a lot of my work is focused on younger people. A lot of the training that I've done at IBM is focused on younger people. A lot of the coaching I do is with younger people. And part of the reason for that is because actually, you know what? I think life is hard. I think for most people, it's a journey of exploration. And I felt that myself. As I said at the beginning, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And it took a long, winding, interesting path to get to where I am now. And I use that because to kind of, I guess it's high empathy. One of my strengths is empathy. I really feel that pain for younger people because it is hard knowing your way. I have one friend, he's a journalist. He always wanted to be a journalist from the age of 14, and he is a journalist. But for most of us, it's not as simple as that. So as I look back on my experience, what advice would I give myself? Well, I've probably got two or three things I'd say. Firstly, I wish, Stephen, I really, truly, truly wish I had known about the strengths philosophy, because I was fighting my weaknesses for so long, fighting them on and on and on. Why can't I be more focused and more disciplined? Why? Well, now it's obvious because I've now looked into my strengths and I've realized they're just not strengths of mine. And when I learned that, it was like the biggest relief of sense of feeling, I can stop fighting now. So advice to my younger self, somewhere back in the history, would be, focus on what I'm good at, cherish it, use it, and don't worry so much of the things I'm not so good at. It's not easy to do that because society wants us to fix weaknesses. So we have to be bold, we have to be strong to have the courage to stay with our strengths. But that's certainly advice I would give myself. Second piece of advice. If you have a yearning.
Yes, okay, continue. Yeah.
Okay, if you have a yearning to start a business, which I always did, start it earlier than I did in my 40s. I'm still in my 40s, but I wished I'd started it in my 30s. So if you really have a passion for business that you want to do, don't leave it too long, is another tip. And I had a third one and I can't remember what it was. But those are the two key ones. The third one will probably come back to me.
Okay. And I'm guessing the advices to your younger self apply to the youth around the world as well. Or do you have a particular set of advices for them?
That's what I wanted to build on. Thank you, Stephen. You've reminded me. So the other thing that I would give advice, especially now that it's so easy, is keep talking to people, keep learning about the world and the way people live. There are so many bad things that happen in the world, and a lot of that is because we don't understand each other. So for greater harmony, for greater learning and richness in our lives, I have no hesitation in saying, keep talking, keep learning with an open mind. And one of the things that I love when I work with some people, I have a little technique, I call it random conversations.
Okay.
And what that means is, I don't know, you might be, as happened to me not too long ago, sitting at a railway station waiting for a train, and somebody's beside me, and I just start to have a random conversation with them. Okay. Well, it turns out that they are the HR director of a major company in the UK, and we have this great conversation, and she has done Strengths Finder, so she knows about strengths, and and you can imagine, so the relationship then builds. So what I say to anyone, but particularly young people, because I know we can sometimes feel a little bit nervous, you know, talk to the people around you, make those random conversations, obviously, as long as it's safe to do so. I always make, that caveat's very important, that never do something where you feel it's dangerous, but where it feels safe, have a random conversation. And the reason why is you never know what you might find out. Sometimes it goes to nothing, but sometimes it's a great new relationship or a great new opportunity. Brilliant. I love it. It's so exciting. There you go. That's my third one.
Conversation, Justin says. Yeah. Conversations, definitely. So yeah, young people that is, let burning with a fire of passion, and start your business if you have it.
You're breaking up, Stephen, but I think we are hearing you through this one, that you're telling people, if you've got that passion for a business, go for it. And we'll wait for Stephen to come back. But yeah, I think that's what he's saying there, that, absolutely, if you have a burning passion for something, obviously, it's going to take hard work, and you need to do work out a business case or a business plan, and assess the risks and assess the financial aspects and so on. But yeah, absolutely go for it. And back to what I was saying before, make sure you talk to other people, get ideas, get views. A lot of people, they'll give you their time for nothing. So it's well worth it. It's hard to lose in this game. Stephen, I was just filling in for you there because you were talking about the power of random conversation as you were
yes, you did.
So I thought I would carry on the theme for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think you make a great team.
We do. It's been great. This is good.
Hey, yeah. My last question to you before we wrap this up, Justin. Why do they call you a wild trainer?
Oh, yeah, it's in my LinkedIn profile. You're absolutely right. Well, this is one of the reasons why I have struggled with the conversion of training to the online environment, because we've only got a box up for a window. But I am standing up, and I've done that deliberately so I can move around the room. And the wild training, if you were to come to one of my classes, if anyone listening were to come to one of my classes, that is what we do. We get people up on their feet, they're doing things. It's all about energy. It's all about the enthusiasm. And yeah, well, I get great feedback for it. So I guess it's something that people like. Seems to work. We call it, it's part of the experiential learning. It's about feeling the learning, not just listening and watching. So for example, PowerPoint, I almost use zero PowerPoint, just maybe a tiny bit, maybe a tiny video. Most of it is flip charts and activities and things like that. So this is what I call it, wild trainer. Thank you for asking, that's funny.
Pleasure, Justin. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we are hanging out with Justin Douglas all the way from London, right? I mean, up London, but he's definitely from the UK. He's a strength coach after being a chartered accountant for 15 years. I'm still trying to figure out how you do that, right? But he did it, right? And his words to us this evening and daytime is that best of your abilities and find the right people that you can surround yourself with to work around your weaknesses on, right? And collaborate with them, create the right relationships and have random conversation. Don't be closed-minded, open yourself to people. I mean, he gave an example where he was having a random conversation with somebody at the train station and the person turned out to be one of the main HR of a huge company, right? And he also spoke that, look, if you have an urge to start a business as a young person, right? If you have that little voice whispering in your ears and your mind every day and night that do something, just go and do it, man. It's about damn time you stand up and do something, right? Stop procrastinating. So those are some of the words of Justin Douglas today. Justin, look, it's been an absolute blast. My apologies to the viewers and listeners for our connection today, but you know what? I guess the internet has corona as well, right? Yeah. So Justin, before we go, right? We almost at the end of this. Before we go, what can you tell the listeners before I wrap this up? What do you want to tell people? Where can they find you? I know you're on LinkedIn. I know you have a website, so how do we get in touch with you? If somebody needs guidance or coaching or maybe more information out of this discussion, how can they get in touch with you? And what are your beautiful last words?
Okay, well, first, I mean, I love LinkedIn. I think it's amazing. So I say to people, go to LinkedIn. You can find me there. The photo to look for, because there's obviously more than one Justin Douglas, but it's a small photo of me in an orange suit climbing a 300-meter tower. And I'll tell you all about it if you decide to connect with me. Anyway, so LinkedIn is absolutely the easiest way. There's also my website, justindouglas.co.uk. And my closing remarks, I really want to turn to you, Stephen, because you are an example of a young man who, I know in your website, you've described yourself coming from humble beginnings. And look at what you've achieved and your energy and your passion. I love it. And it's just a huge pleasure. So I want to say thank you to you for inviting me along here. And I want to also just praise you because I think you're doing just a brilliant job. And I just love your energy and passion and enthusiasm for what you do. So that's really my closing remark because I've loved it. I've loved being with you. So fun, and this is the kind of style that helps people move forward in their lives and gain confidence, and we all need a bit of that. You see me in all my energy mode, we see you, Stephen, in your energy mode, but we all have our low points. We're not always like this, are we, Stephen? And if we can help people make positive changes, transformational changes, well, that's a beautiful thing. So those are my closing words, Stephen.
Thank you so much, Douglas. I mean, Justin, I really, really appreciate your words, right in my heart. I really appreciate it. Look, I'm a firm believer that whatever is worth doing, do it greatly with all your passion and all your might. And that's my philosophy with every single thing I do, right? So yeah, I mean, if I want to have a platform that can bring the best out of people, and I've got to make sure that I do it right, and I grow with it, and I reach as many people as possible, because only through that I can also sleep at night feeling fulfilled, right?
Definitely.
Great. Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Ignited Transformation TV today on Wednesday. And we've just buckled it up with Justin Douglas, a strength coach who has been a chartered accountant for over 15 years. And in his early 40s, he finally took the step, right, to start his business. And he has accomplished great things, even though he was too late. In other words, it's never too late, right? So, wherever you are right now, listening or watching this, if you have the burning desire to take an action, please stand up and take it. And when you do, take it from your position of strength, right?
Yeah.
And don't forget, I've got a webinar that's going to happen tomorrow, Thursday, 3 p.m. Singapore time. Make sure that, you go onto my feed. The title is Activate Your Potential. You activate your hidden potential, right? Potential is all about how far we can reach, but we are yet to reach. How much we can accomplish, but we are yet to accomplish. So tune in tomorrow, and I'll be excited to be sharing with you some amazing findings that I've come across, right? So this is Ignote Transformation, the place where inspiration is made in its rawest form. And today we've had Justin Douglas all the way from London, all the way from UK, right? So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, you can be great. See you on top. Bye-bye.